Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Christina Rice and I oversee the photo collection here at the Los Angeles Public Library. And before I turn the floor over to our photographer's eye guest today, I just wanted to welcome you. Today's program is sponsored by Photo Friends. They're a nonprofit friends group which supports the photo collection and brings you programs such as these. If you want to find out more about Photo Friends and get on the once-a-month email blast, we have a sign-up sheet over on the back table there. And that way you can learn about all the fabulous programs we have coming out and the exhibits. But since you're here in the building, and if you have time today after the program, there's two exhibits which include photos from our collection. The first is over just on the first floor galleries. It's a history of Bunker Hill. It includes photos and ephemera from our collection, and we even have a snazzy catalog, which is for sale in the library store. Proceeds benefit Photo Friends. And then down in the History and Genealogy department on lower level 4, we have our newest exhibit, the first with the latest, Aggie Underwood, the Los Angeles Herald, and the Sordid Crimes of a Simi. And that's all photographs from our Herald Examiner collection. And we also have a snazzy catalog that's for sale in the library store. Proceeds benefit Photo Friends. We have some postcards over there that you can grab. So if you have time, hang out. Go up to the second floor of our building if you've never been here before and just enjoy your time here at Central Library. So now I am going to turn it over to Julie Green, who has been photographing, painting, drawing, singing, creating, and observing the world from an artistic perspective for over the past 25 years. From creating portraits of the underground glitterati to exploring the world through photography, music, and paint, she has built a visual vocabulary to describe the world around her. Her photo blog, Patterns and Tones, is followed by over 10,000 people weekly. And Julie, tell us about California County Fairs. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. My name is Julie Green, and I'm a portrait photographer. I've been shooting portraits for over the past 25 years because I'm fascinated with the human condition. And I tend to photograph people on the fringe, from rock and rollers to the man on the street. And today I wanted to share with you some photographs from a series I've been doing called California County Fairs. I started shooting these photographs, this particular photograph, on July 4th of last year, when I took this portrait of a man who was selling tokens at a photo booth. His very being caught my eye when I passed him by, and he's a bit ragged and worn, but he had a twinkle in his eye, and when he saw my old Yashica 1957 2¼ camera, we struck up a conversation, and I knew we were going to be able to make some magic that day. So when I asked him if I could take his portrait, he was a little bit hesitant, but then he realized the dichotomy of me being a photographer photographing him in front of a photo booth. And so we quickly took this picture, and I thought, I think I really have something here. We ended up talking about old technology, and this is definitely shot with film. And he really had this, I could see it in his eyes. He had both a sense of fear of being recorded and a sense of dignity in his pose. So I was hooked the moment I took this picture. For the last 2 years, I've been shooting 10 county fairs, 5 county fairs per year. And I started by concentrating on photographing the photographers. The graphics of the photo booths are particularly interesting to me. Their repetitive patterns make them fun, festive. My eye is always drawn to the space in which they create, draw you in, to get you to buy their product, which is a photographic record of you at the fair having fun. I've always been drawn to the iconography of decades past, and these precious little photo booths seemed like they'd been withstanding the test of time, and I wanted to record them. When an image to me is timeless, I know that's when I've got something there. something makes me want to record it and explore it a little bit more. When I began to capture these booths and the workers who passed out tokens, time literally stopped for me. And I began this series. What I first began exploring were the photo studio photographers. Most of them were really surprised I wanted to take their photographs. Many of them told me they had never been asked to photograph before, and I think they were a bit amused at my proposition. So there's always a line outside these little studios. People seem to linger and see how much the packages were, what they could get to capture their day fun at the fair. Once again, most of these photo studios, to me, seem to be built between the 50s and the 60s, and they were still going, although they'd updated the photographs to around the 80s or 90s. I suppose we all like to get capture our likeness while we're having fun, and so I concentrated on these various photo studios throughout the fairs that I attended. Who can get professional portraits these days for $6.99 besides, you know? I was especially drawn in by this gentleman who I saw at 5 out of the 10 county fairs I've attended so far. He had his gimmick, which was to put parrots on your shoulders, and he had created these amazing homemade backdrops. And so now he kind of sees me when I come by, but I try to capture him working. I think that's really important. It has to be said that the second theme that I began to see evolve were the carnival workers themselves. They've kind of become my centerpiece and my main focus of this series, because they are already set upon a stage, and they have these amazing repetitive backdrops. In black and white, taking out all that color really helps me to focus on the subject and look at the faces and the characters in the faces of these people. Really, it was sparked by that initial photograph of the gentleman in the photo booth token man. I really thought that capturing these people who don't get photographed all that much would be an interesting subject. A quarter of those who I asked to photograph declined for whatever reason, but those that did were eager to get their photograph taken, and kind of were marveled, even though they were a little timid and afraid to get their portraits done. Some of them were just like, had no problem whatsoever. So it really kind of showed the personality of each individual, I felt. Taking these formal portraits in an informal setting is kind of a hallmark of my portrait photography. I like the tension it creates between everyday life that we see and my eye as a professional photographer. And there's a tension there that I think that really resonates. When I started this series last year, I had no other guide except for the pure joy and excitement I was getting every time I developed each roll of film that I had to wait for down at Sammy's camera, which I would then scan as a contact sheet. Quickly, the themes evolved as I ventured beyond the carnival workers and the photographers throughout the fair. But I still love shooting them. The timelessness This guy was great. He was so much fun. He couldn't, I mean, he was just like, well, how about over here? And how about over here? Very excited to interact. As I walked around the fair, the agricultural aspect of the 4-H club really floated my boat. I'll keep going back to the timelessness of photography. When I see something that could be from any era, I feel that there's really something special there. It was definitely a time warp. These kids were so proud, and I was so drawn in by the pride they took with the animals that they presented to be judged. And also the community that is created by this activity every year to present these animals. That really fascinated me. Because it's completely far removed from my urban reality. Showcasing the farm animals was one of the hallmarks and that helped that started a lot of these county fairs, along with pie baking and dressmaking. And so, you know, for the last 100 to 150 years, the 4-H club has provided an activity for these kids to do. Backcombing cow tails. Just, when I start shaking and I have to really breathe so I can take the shot because I'm so excited that this woman is backcombing and spraying a cow tail. It's a joyous moment for me, so.
This is cute.
Of course, there are the food stands throughout the fairway, that line the fairway. And they've become portraits of a different kind because I'm shooting black and white. The garish colors and the vibrant neon sign isn't there. We just see the structures. And a lot of these vendors I saw on the California County circuit over and over. But it was interesting to see how each location really affected how these little huts looked. It kind of lent itself to like an exhibition of art. When you take one collection in one museum and you bring it to another, it has a very different feel to it. It's no fact that fairs in general have been an incubator for food products and the debut of the ingenuity of people bringing new products to the masses. Some of the things that we have today, such as Cracker Jack and Jell-O and Cherry Coke and the ice cream cone, were all introduced at a county fair. I haven't explored the odd food combinations, as that's not really something I'm looking at, but I am turned on by odd shaped structures, food, and hats that are you can see throughout the fair, such as this lemonade stand. Once again, it transcends time for me. I could have seen this in the 20s. Somebody had made it out of plaster. But these lemonade and ice cream cone stands just do it for me. I've explored small spaces and structures that people work in, such as photo huts, because I have a fascination with people working in small spaces, and this is right to the point. This is the product. You know what you're going to get when you walk up to a lemonade stand or an ice cream cone. Or a Boy Scout hat that's selling food. The Ferris wheel was originally built for the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, but hasn't changed one bit. It remains the icon of the county fair and world fairs and state fairs. And it's always a looming structure, I noticed, when I walk around the fairs that I go to. My fascination with people willing to risk their lives for a thrill on these temporary structures has also been an interest of mine. From monster trucks to tractor rides and giant slides from 3 stories up to bungee jumping and roller coasters that were just built last week. Rides are a quintessential factor of county fairs, and I wouldn't be able to be an overview of them if I didn't include them. My favorite part of any fair, personally, is the spectacles. It's the stage performers who, I always look forward to the many spectacles I'll find at the county fair. They're there to delight and entertain us, and from circus acts and freak shows to magicians, mind readers, jugglers, acrobatics. They each offer us as viewers a chance to just be transformed for a moment, and even be transfixed by their entertainment and their spectacles that they provide us. To be honest, the amateur set designer, backdrop builder, and the fabricators for these stage performers really is a part of this series that I'm going to concentrate most on in the next 2 years. As artists, we make choices based on our knowledge and experience and our passion. And every time I photograph one of these, the hairs on my arms stand up from excitement. For example, the steampunk parade I saw at the San Diego Fair recently. To me, it appears to combine elements of like Dudley Do-Right and Napoleon with mechanical mechanisms of the 19th century, making something new and original. Several months into the project, I purchased my dream camera for this project, my 1965 Rolleiflex 2¼ f2.8. Loaded up with my favorite Ilford black and white film. The setup obviously lends itself to a bygone era of Mary Ellen Mark or Albert Eisenstadt. But the lack of color helps me to actually emphasize the subjects more, I feel. It helps me, once again, to strip away the gaudy, loud visuals and concentrate on the compositions and subject matters. This series so far has led me from Sacramento to San Diego, so I've got 10 out of 57 counties shot so far. But I look forward to expanding this series and shooting with some flash indoors to cover the contests of beauty contests and pie baking contests and diaper derbies and you name it. For now, I'll continue to capture the county fairs of California and people who enjoy them outside in our abundant light and preserve a slice of humanity for us to enjoy for years to come. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed the lecture.
Yes. Can I just say something? Is it all right if I make a comment?
Absolutely.